Welcome, everybody. Today, we're just going to go over a little bit about your role as an observer since this is going to be your first site visit. So here to kind of go over the expectations and the process a little bit and just discuss any questions you might have before the site visit. So let's get started. First, I just want to thank all of our corporate partners and our sponsors and donors. As always, we can't do what we do without them. So we always want to give them a big shout out and thank them for all that they do and their support for us. So just to introduce myself, I'm Melissa Sanseverino. I'm the Executive Vice President and CFO here at CAHME. And I also have the pleasure of working with all of our fellows and those that are applying to be fellows and site visitors and that sort of thing. So happy to present here with you today. Okay, so first we're going to go over your role as an observer and just talk about different conflicts of interest, go over a brief summary of the events before, during, and after the site visit, and then some do's and don'ts, the different resources and training opportunities that we have for all of our site visitors. I'll go over the T&E process of how to get reimbursed for your travel expenses, and then just give you some contact information of who to contact for different questions that you might have. So first, just a little bit about CAHME. We were founded in 1968, and we're recognized by the Council on Higher Education Accreditation. So basically what that means is we accredit programs and CHIA accredits us. So that's great. And our mission is to serve the public interest by advancing the quality of healthcare management education. We do that by setting measurable criteria for our programs and assisting them to make sure that they're either meeting or exceeding that criteria. We want to make sure that they're continuously improving. And we also make this information publicly available to different stakeholders. So we put everything on the website. That's in the program's annual report so that students can make informed decisions of what program they want to attend and that sort of thing. So that's a little bit about CAHME's mission. Okay, so your role as an observer kind of differs depending on whether you're with the program or with the site visit team. So when you're in meetings with programs or the program directors, faculty, that sort of thing, you're really there to just observe, and you should really take a more passive role in the discussions. Whereas when you're with the site visit team, you're expected to participate fully. So you're attending all of the conference calls and pre-meetings, meetings during the site visit, and you're expected to review the self-study report and discuss it with the team. And your level of participation really depends a lot on the chair that you have. Some chairs really want you to dig in, and then other chairs are just, supportive of you just being a listening ear. So I would just take the chair's guidance on kind of the level of participation that you're going to have during the site visit itself. In terms of conflicts of interest, you should not have held a position at a university in the past 10 years, or be an alumni, or serve as a consultant, or any other kind of relationship where you feel as though you'd be biased to the program. So if you're assigned to a visit and you feel like the conflict does exist, let us know, and we'll maybe assign you to a different visit. But we want to make sure that there's no bias in the program in which you're assigned to. Okay, so here's a little bit about what's happening before, during, and after the site visit. Before, you're expected to review the self-study report. Those typically come in 8 weeks prior to the visit, and it's in our CAMP system, which is our accreditation management portal. So you should all have access to that at this point, and if you don't, let me know. And then you should be attending all of the pre-site visit team conference calls, which are held to kind of review a little bit together the self-study so that you're prepared for when you arrive to the visit. During the visit, we ask that our observers attend on day one, which is where the coordinator on the visit will go and do the records review. So we ask that the observer attend on day one as well, because you're essentially preparing to become a coordinator. So checking and making sure that you understand that whole process. It's great to be a part of that. So it should be you and the coordinator on day one, and then the rest of the team will arrive in the evening and throughout the rest of the visit. And then after the site visit, we just ask that you complete our site visitor satisfaction survey. It helps us to improve the process and make things better. We typically send that out in December if it's a fall visit. So just look out for that survey and then submit your travel and expense report to CAHME so that we can reimburse you for all your expenses. Okay, so again, going over the events prior to the site visit, this is a little snapshot from our site visitor roles and responsibilities resource. And you'll see here that what you're expected to attend is all of those pre-conference calls, pre-site visit conference calls. So not necessarily the ones where it's planning in terms of logistics and that sort of thing, but where you're reviewing the self-study document and discussing that with the team, you'd be expected to attend all of those and then during the site visit itself, again, day one is the records review, and in the evening you'll have dinner as a team. And on day two, you'd be introduced to the program director as a group if you haven't already met the program director as part of the records review. You'd be reviewing the criteria, having lunch with students, meeting the alumni advisory board. We also ask that you check in with the program director at the end of the day, so you can expect that the team would likely do that. And then you'd have dinner with the team at the end of the day. And then on day three, the final day, um, breakfast as a team, and then finish up your review, meet with different university leadership. And then you'd have a working lunch likely and doing your exit session with the program director to let them know of what the findings were on the site visit. Okay, some do's and don'ts, which might be obvious, but we like to mention them anyway. So you're expected to dress in business casual and have a positive attitude. And although observer expenses are not incurred by the program, we still ask that you're prudent in your expenses because once you're a team member or coordinator, all of those expenses that you incur will be invoiced back to the program. So we want to make sure we're prudent in our expenses, not having lavish meals and that sort of thing. Um, and then don't, contradict members of the site visit team during meetings with the program or the faculty, and just kind of take a more passive view there. Okay, in terms of site visitor training, I believe all of you have already taken the accreditation basics and site visitor basics courses within the Core Learning Center. If you haven't, please do that before you attend your site visit. It's really important to get a basis for everything. And then in terms of continued training, we have a few live training sessions that we offer. So we started piloting our Lunch and Learn program last year that we're continuing again this year, and we offer that twice per month. I would not attend twice per month because it's the same session that occurs. We just offer it multiple times for those who can't attend one or the other. So it'd be great if you could attend one of those sessions per month. And then we also offer training as part of our accreditation council meeting. So again, that's going to be a virtual training that's held on day two of our accreditation council. And we invite all of our site visitors to attend the training session there. The lunch and learn sessions are great. We've got a lot of good feedback from it. Essentially, you're reviewing one criteria for each session. And so you go over it as a group and then you break out into small groups and discuss, okay, do we feel like they met this criteria? Do we think it's partially met? And then we come together as a larger group and someone from each breakout team will say whether the team thought it was met, not met, partially met, that sort of thing. And it's a really good way to make sure that we're, doing well with inter-rater reliability. We want to make sure that all site visitors have the same mindset and thought process when they're reviewing each criteria. So continuing to do that on a monthly basis just to remain fresh and keep up to date with any changes in the criteria, that sort of thing is really important. Okay, in terms of resources, we offer a bunch of resources in the Core Learning Center and on our website. So I'll show you just briefly where you can find these resources on our website. So at the very top, you can see there's info for site visitors. And if you click on the drop down, it'll bring you to site visitor resources. Or another section is if you go over here just to general resources and click on accreditation resources. So this is the screen that you'll see when you go to site visitor resources. So it has the site visit instructions, the roles and responsibilities. There's really great camp training here. So for anyone who hasn't worked in camp before, highly recommend that you take a look at that, and it'll be really helpful in learning how to navigate the system. And then just a whole bunch of other things like the travel expense report. This is also where you're going to find the most up-to-date version of the travel and expense report template that you're going to complete when you submit your expense report. Always check the website for the most up-to-date version because the mileage rate tends to change periodically. So you want to make sure you're obtaining it from there. And then this is where you go to just the general accreditation resources. There's a whole bunch of things there as well. Something that I would recommend taking a look at is the Handbook of Policies and Accreditation Procedures. And then under the self-study and site visit resources, that's where you'll find the self-study handbook, which has all of our criteria and required review elements and all the things that you need to be knowledgeable on. And then for your T&E reimbursement, again, all of your expenses will be reimbursed by CAHME. So um, even when you're not an observer, CAHME is the one who's going to reimburse you for your expenses. It's never going to be the program that directly reimburses you. It's just once you're not an observer anymore, we internally would invoice back the program for all of the total amount of expenses that were incurred. So it's important that we have it properly documented which expenses relate to you as the observer. So we make sure that we're excluding them from what we're invoicing back to the program. So if you could also please retain all of your itemized receipts. So if you're having a meal, we'd like to see all the things that were ordered rather than just the receipt that has the total. And if you could submit it within a couple weeks of the site visit, that would be helpful. You're going to email that to ap@cahme.org. So it's going to be that Excel document that you're going to complete listing all of your expenses and how much they were, and then with all the related receipts behind that as well. If you could have it all in one PDF document, that would be excellent and save us a lot of time, but whatever you can is fine. And then for actual reimbursement, we utilize bill.com for all of our T&E reimbursements. If you want to be paid electronically, once you submit your expense report, I would go ahead and send you an invitation to the system, and then you could input all of your banking information, and we don't see any of that. That's just in your account. And then that way you can be paid electronically. Otherwise, you would just get a physical check to whatever address was listed on your expense report. So up to you on what option you prefer. Okay, so this is a list of who you would contact for different questions. Anything regarding the site visit logistics and accreditation criteria or whatever it is, accreditation space related, is going to be Eric Brichter, our Chief Accreditation Officer. If you have questions on the Core Learning Center, or you can't log in, or you don't know where to find certain trainings, you can reach out to Melissa Cross, our AVP of Education. Any T&E questions, please reach out to myself. And if you have questions on camp, so if you can't log into camp or you don't know how to navigate the system, you have a question, Stacy Rowand, our Chief Operating Officer, would be the best resource there. And that's basically it for me. I'm going to be providing this the PowerPoint slides to you, so you don't have to remember all the things. I'll send it to you along with the recording if you'd like after the session. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in.
I have a question.
Sure.
The question I have is about asking questions and when to be silent and when not to be silent. I mean, I'm a little bit still confused about that. I feel like we're being asked to just watch and not talk. Is that?
No. So, I mean, I would say when you're in meetings with the program, you're really kind of just there to observe because the rest of the team will be asking questions of the program director. But during private session with the site visit team, absolutely feel free to answer questions. The chair and the team are going to be a great resource for you guys for any learning or just generally you have things that you want to participate in. If observations on the self-study and criteria, please feel free to ask all the questions you want and participate as much as you want in that regard. It's more so in closed sessions with the program or faculty. If it'd be best if you took a more passive role in that. Not that you can't say anything, but just generally speaking, it's more so the chair and other team members that are going to participate in those meetings and interviews and things.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
This is Brandy. I can speak from the standpoint of we just had our visit last fall and we had an observer, and it was very
Mhm.
much like the observer did just, and he was very clear. He introduced himself like I'm just observing, and really he never asked any questions during our meetings. And then we've already started our kickoffs for our site visit at the end of, and the chair, my chair is very much wants input involvement in the meetings, like our site visit meet, like the team meeting.
Yeah.
And then my intent was to just observe, certainly, and not unless directed by the chair. I'm just taking the chair's lead. So I think just really talking with your chair too, like what is their goal for you as the observer?
Yeah.
But really kind of just to be like a little mouse on the wall. But and I am going the day one for the visit with the records review, et cetera. So
Perfect.
I do have
And
one
that's
more.
true. And
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
You can go first and then I'll.
Oh, I was just going to say, in the past, I feel like what direction we've given is just be there to observe. Don't worry about participating or anything like that. And then they get on the visits, and the chair's like, no, no, strap up your boots. Like you're helping out here. And so we're trying to give a more realistic expectation of what you need to do in your role as an observer. And again, like it's not meant to be something that's stressful, but just to be prepared that you can't come in there not having read the self-study and just say, well, I'm just here to watch, you know? So that's kind of what the expectation is from most chairs. I would say, Brandy, is that is the expectation that you're participating.
So I do have just one quick question. So I've taken some of the courses, but I just want to make sure, like, what are the, because I have, we just have the Core Learning Center too, so I think I have other courses in there. Like, what are the ones that we have to watch as site visitor? Which ones are those?
So their accreditation basics, which has, I believe, two modules associated with it. And
The
then
the boot
site
camp
visitor
one?
basic. Yes, yes. I think one is labeled virtual boot camp, and I can't think off the top of my head what the second one is, but it's two modules in that one. And then site visitor basics, I believe, has four modules, and I think they're just labeled module 1, 2, 3, 4. But you should receive, I know for certain you do for accreditation basics, you receive once you've completed the course, you receive some kind of a badge. I'm not positive on site visitor basics, but if you are unsure if you fully completed it, you can reach out to myself or Melissa Cross, and we'll be happy to check and make sure that all of
Yeah,
it is
those
good to
ones
go.
I've started, but I haven't. I need to. They're on my list. So I think I have the list that I think there was three I had to do: accreditation basics, preparing for a site visit, and site visitor basics. Does that sound correct?
So preparing for a site visit is not really a training module in which there's questions that you have to answer. It's more of a here's a one-stop shop for all of the resources. So a bunch
Okay.
of the resources that I showed you that are on our website are also in the preparing for a site visit module. So that's more of a good resource place to go rather than a training where you're going to have to validate that you've listened and watched by answering questions like the other two courses are. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I will just make sure I get those on my prioritize next week to get them complete. I had went in and started them, but I hadn't finished everything. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would definitely take a look at the preparing for a site visit one too. I think it has like a brand ambassador video that would be a good resource for you guys to watch prior to the visit, just showing kind of like you're here on behalf of CAHME and you need to, be a good ambassador of CAHME and that sort of thing. It does talk about being prudent with your expenses and all of that in the brand ambassador video as well. So, and it's short, so if you want to take a peek at that as well.
okay, perfect.
No?
This may be kind of a stupid question, but how do we get feedback on how we do it?
On how you did? Um, well, I don't know that you actually get any sort of official feedback on how you were as an observer. We kind of have informal meetings with the chairs to see how the site visit went generally, but um, it's I don't know that in the past we've kind of translated like, you did a great job on the site visit. Or I mean, it's more so if there's any sort of issues that arise on the site visit in which you'd maybe be reached out to, but typically things run very smoothly. And if you think of anything later on, feel free to email me. I'm always around. Give me a call. Happy to walk through anything with you of how to access the different modules or any other questions you might have. But I would definitely use your site visit team, specifically your chair, as a resource for any specific questions you have on reviewing the self-study or just the way that the site visit will occur, because the on our site visit instructions, there's a general outline of the timing of all the different meetings and things. It'll have specific times on it, but it's just more of a general outlined example of how the days will go. Um, the chair sort of is the one who really manages when things are going to happen and that sort of thing. So I would just lean on them as your resource for any questions. I think that's it for me. I really appreciate you guys attending today, and we're really thankful for you guys because we couldn't do this without our volunteers, and we're really excited to have you all on. And if you have any questions for, the process of applying for becoming a fellow, I think most of you have submitted application documents and things like that. But if you have any questions along the way of the process and the levels and that sort of thing, I'm here for that as well.